Wouldn't it be nice to have several thought leaders in your industry know and love your brand? Start a podcast. Invite your industry's thought leaders to be guests on your show and start reaping the benefits of having a network full of industry influencers. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to B2B Growth. I am your host for today's episode, Nikki Ivy with Sweetfish Media. Guys, I've got with me today Ryan Kohler, who is founder and CEO at Applicantpro. Ryan, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Good. I love it. Enthusiasm on this first day of fall. I love what we're going to be talking about today because I like to call people out. So look, guys, we're going to get to the bottom of this once and for all. Is the talent shortage real, or is it just a cop-out? And, what is muddying the waters here? But before we get into all of that, Ryan, I would love it if you would just give us all a little bit of background on yourself and what you and the folks at Applicantpro have been up to these days.
Sure. So, weird path. I am what you call a non-tech founder, right? So, solo founder of a tech company, even though I don't throw code. I got a degree in accounting. Just bored me to death, got an MBA, quit my job, and got into web marketing about 20 years ago. And for about the last, almost 15 years, we've been building hiring software, kind of trying to, had no background in hiring, no background in HR. Somebody asked us to build some hiring software, and we said, why not? And it's been an interesting, decade and a half through a couple of recessions and high unemployment, and low unemployment, and this talent shortage we have now that's really kind of our focal point at Applicantpro is we help small and mid-sized companies, especially those with high turnover and who hire a lot of entry and mid-level talent. So anybody from a restaurant to a credit union to a nonprofit to an auto dealer, but even tech companies and that who do a lot of hiring. And our spin is we're kind of like, we don't just do tracking, we help them actually source applicants. And that's why, something like a topic like this is something that's just crazy interesting for us, especially in the current market, with all the stuff that's going on the sourcing side of things.
For sure. So let's get into it. You make no bones about this. We talked offline about whether or not this idea of there being a talent shortage is real, or are we just missing something? So set the scene for us, Ryan. What are we dealing with?
Sure. So you have this interesting thing. If you listen to the news, you listen to, however you get your news, you're going to hear at some point somebody say, there's more jobs than applicants. And if you drop down into industries, especially the tech world, you're going to hear that there's a shortage of programmers. And in some roles, clearly that's true. There might be more programming jobs than there are programmers. So there might be more like in the HVAC space. There's more, technician jobs than there are technicians or driving. But the problem is that's like a macro concept, right? That's like saying that there's not enough people who want to buy CRM software, right? Compared to the 5,000 CRM platforms that are out there. But at the micro level, meaning your own organization, that's a huge cop-out. And usually what they'll use to back that up is they'll say, well, look at the unemployment rate. That's always my favorite one. That's like the evidence that there's a shortage of talent or that it's hard for us to get talent is that unemployment's at, say, 3%, right? And so you go, okay, let's walk down this line. Because if I said that, you would probably go, wow, yeah, unemployment's at 3%. I bet it's hard to hire people. And everybody, especially outside of HR, accepts that and goes, yeah, I heard unemployment's really low. And they said on the news the other day, the low unemployment is making it hard for employers to get talent, or immigration is making it hard for hotels to hire housekeepers, or there's plenty of news articles on it. But yet, if you drop down to what they're actually doing, what it's being used for is like a cop-out to say, and so therefore there's nothing we can do.
Right.
There's nothing we can do about it at all. And yeah, it's just super interesting. Just imagine as a marketer, let me set the scene. Imagine that you walk into a conference of marketers, right? And everybody's there. And you ask this room of, say, 100 marketers, you say, who in here, by raise of hands, feels like they could do something to impact the number of leads they get at their organization? My guess is everybody would raise their hand in the room. Because if they didn't, they should get out of marketing and be fired, right? Because why would you show up to work every day doing a job where your job is to output or to increase the number of leads you get if you honestly didn't believe that you could get anything? So I was talking, last week, talking at an HR conference, 100 people in the room, asked the same question. How many people in this room believe they could go home and do something that would dramatically impact how many people applied for their jobs? One person out of 100 raised their hand. Nobody even believes that they could do anything. And yet the number to look at is like 60, 80%, depending on who you listen to, of employees are unhappy where they work. They're literally unhappy with their job. 25% of them are actively unhappy, meaning they're on Indeed at lunch or on their smoke break or while they're in the bathroom, right? They're on Indeed looking for a new job. And so the number of unemployment is the wrong number because nobody really hires unemployed people anyway. Nobody wants to say that, but we tend to filter them out. So the people that are out there actively looking are unhappy at their job. We just, though, if we use this talent shortage thing, it just means we give up. There's just some interesting reasons why we give up and how they give up and what it means. But I know at my company, we don't have a hard time hiring. We picked our niche. We know who we target. We post a job. We get lots of applicants. And so even for us, we're non-funded, but we can hire programmers. So if there's really a programmer shortage, then unfunded bootstrap guys like me shouldn't be able to have any programmers because we can't pay the same rate as funded companies. We don't have ping pong. We don't have fancy offices. So if the theory held true that there was a shortage of, say, programmers, then me at the bottom end of the spectrum shouldn't be able to hire a programmer at all. Yet I don't think we've had a programmer opening last 2 years that we didn't fill within 30 days.
Well, it's like we were talking about offline, right? To speak in marketing terms, what you're describing, right, with these folks who are not the unemployed, who a lot of folks have in mind when they talk about like who's out there looking for jobs like you described. We're talking about in marketing terms, this dark funnel, right? These folks with intent that we just need to tap into and be able to identify and measure the same way that we would do if we were looking at leads.
Sure. So like for my business, so I started about 15 years ago, and 15 years ago, selling hiring software was a phenomenal time. Like it was easy, like low hanging fruit, we'll call it. If you're selling hiring software to small and mid-sized companies at that point in time, 80% of businesses had nothing. So clearly it was pretty easy. Not easy, but we were selling them about engaging new technology, about leaving behind nothing and getting technology. Fast forward to today, now it's reversed and 80% of businesses have some time for hiring technology. So now we can look at it and say, well, gosh, if our target market is people who don't have tech, then clearly our market's getting smaller and smaller. And if we don't do something, we're going to run out of leads. As a marketer, a salesperson, entrepreneur, I say, well, gosh, now we need to switch gears. Now we need to aim our marketing message, our sales message at switching people from the system they're using that's ineffective to our system. Mm-hmm. And so it's a shift in mentality, but that mentality doesn't happen in HR. And there's some interesting, there's just these interesting reasons behind it. As I'd consider myself like an outsider. I don't have an HR background, so I'm not an HR person. So I show up on the scene. I'm not from the HR space and I'm not from the HR industry. And I'm also not like a recruiter or a staffing person, which is a lot of times where software providers come from in the startup land. And so I just don't have a horse in the race. And so it's been super interesting for us to look at and go, wait a minute, you went and told your boss that there's no applicants for your programming jobs? And he was just okay with that. Like you just said, there's nobody for us to hire, or we just can't get any applicants. And he literally just said, oh, wow, I heard that when I was golfing with my buddy too. I guess it just sucks to be us. Like it is such a strange world we live in, because a marketer or a sales manager or a product person who came to the C-level with that same kind of thing saying, we can't get what you want, would have been told to go figure it out.
Yeah.
They would have said, get outside the box, take a new approach, change what you're doing, go do something different. But instead, for whatever reason, HR, love them to death, but they're viewed kind of like tax accountants and attorneys, where the C-level looks at them and says, well, they know hiring and we don't. And so I guess if they say that, it must be true.
And that's where we have to stop with that's where we have to stop with labels, titles, personas. At the end of the day, right? Marketers and sales leaders and salespeople, our job in essence is to know people. So we don't have to know hiring. We don't have to know HR in order to be effective in hiring, right? And effective in attracting talent. We just have to accept the fact that that is what we're doing. Right. And that there is a shared responsibility. It's the more, because it is really easy with so much on your plate to be like, oh, that's HR. That's HR. HR is the one that's in charge of doing that. It is going to have to become a collaborative thing, right? Recruitment marketing is a real thing that is either included in HR or works alongside HR. But this business that you just described is not serving anybody, not the least of which those dark funnel applicants would be applicants who are looking to, switch roles or switch industries or what have you, and don't know that these roles exist because they're not being marketed to.
Right. Well, let's just think about it this way. Like if you take and you say, how important is talent to the success of our organization, right? And so we just take talent, meaning the employees that we have, which therefore also means the employees we get in the future. How important is that to our organization? Well, as a tech company, the ideas and the code that gets thrown, the product I have today, I didn't buy it off the shelf. I'm not reselling it from somebody else. It literally came out of the brains of the people I hired, right? And the marketing ideas came out of the brains of my marketers. And it doesn't do them any good to generate leads if I don't have a funnel of salespeople or SDRs or BDRs, whatever you want to call them, to call those leads and schedule demos. And that would do no good if you didn't have a funnel of salespeople to call and close those deals. And so if you look up and down the line of a company, from marketing to sales to onboarding to customer support to product, and whether that's a tech company or a manufacturing company or a hotel, I mean, think about it. You don't go to a hotel just to stay in the hotel. Part of that product you're buying is how clean the room is and how nice the person is at the front desk.
For sure.
And how good they are at solving the problem you have when you're there because you forgot your swimsuit or you forgot something that was there. The product you're buying, a huge chunk of that is the talent of the organization. So if talent is that important, right, then look at the budget that we allocate to hiring versus, say, marketing. Or look at the pay of the executive over hiring versus marketing, or even if you have an executive, or even if you have somebody who only is over hiring, because most organizations say sub 100, sub 500, it's like, oh yeah, I also do hiring, but I also do the paychecks. I also am over benefits. I'm also all over all this stuff. And even the person, we like to call them accidental HR. If you look at organizations, say sub 500, there's about a 50-50 chance of the person sitting in that chair is not, like, they don't have a business degree. They probably don't even have an HR degree. If they have a degree, they probably have like a psychology or sociology degree, not even a business one or an HR degree. They kind of like accidentally became an HR person, right?
Right.
And I clearly accidentally became a marketer, but most marketers don't accidentally become marketers, right? They study it in college. They have a pathway. They go through it. Most people don't accidentally become programmers. But HR has this huge group of folks that, like, they were the receptionists and they helped with payroll. Then they became part of the payroll team. Then the company grew and suddenly they're the HR manager.
Which is why it's so unfair to then ask of these people to perform marketing functions. At the end of the day, like I said, we're just going to have to split these things up and then have teams or something. I don't know. Smarter people out there maybe are thinking and talking about this, you being one of them. I do want to make sure we get to the other segments in the show, and I don't want to run long, but there's a friggin' million more questions I want to ask you about this. So you know what? You're just going to have to come on the show again. I'll ask you to give one more little piece of parting wisdom on the matter before we move on to the next segment.
So the really easy part of it is really what you said, that recruitment marketing. I think that might make it a little too high level. Just think about it that really, if you want to have a good hiring process and attract good people, then it needs to be about just the definition of that. Attract good people says it needs to be about them, not you. Probably the biggest difference is if you go take 5 minutes, read your blog posts, read your marketing material you put out there, and then read your job ads that you're posting. And my guess, you will see instantly the stark contrast between content that's written for the target audience and the content that's written about what you demand of the target audience. That is a very, very contrasting thing to look at, say, blog posts versus job ads. And as a marketer, which I know a ton of your audience is, you should instantly, that should click and go, holy crap. The goal of this job ad is to get people to want to apply for a job at our company. It's to make our grass appear greener than the grass where they're standing. And this does not do that. Just that one little change. Forget everything else. If that was the only change organizations made, go read your job ad and say, if I was a job seeker, would this make me want to apply? Would this put this job in the right light? Would it put our company in the right light? Would this make our grass seem greener than where I'm at today at my current organization that I'm unhappy with? And I guarantee everybody on this call will instantly go, oh, heck no. There's nothing exciting about this ad. It doesn't make me want to apply. And that right there is the fundamental issue across the board when it comes to hiring.
Yeah,
that our entire hiring process is about us. It's not about the job seeker.
Yep. That is the disconnect. And so if the job ad is not attractive, then think about who the people are that still respond to it and why you should all be surprised.
The most desperate.
Right.
The most desperate people.
It's tough out here. Like I said, I got to have you back on. But thank you so much for laying this out for us the way that you did. And now that I've successfully picked your brain and seen what I could get out of it, Ryan, you got to tell us what you're putting in it, man. It's time for you to tell us about a learning resource that you engage with that is, informing your approach that's just got you excited these days.
Oh, sure. So I believe I'm kind of a huge stoic, right? So, the Ryan Holiday type books of The Obstacle is the Way and some of those things. I know you said you're doing meditation. He's got a new book coming out on stillness, which I guarantee I'll be reading next month. But to us, we look at to me, Obstacle is Way and anything dealing with turning like these challenges into strengths. So I love The Obstacle is the Way book. It's one of my favorite ones. I reread it probably like every month. I'll go back and be like, all right, what are my challenges? How am I going to turn these into strengths? And so this being a great example, this talent shortage, if everybody believes it's bad, dude, that one company who says, F this, we can figure it out, just dominates everybody. Because they were the ones who said, we're going to make this challenge, we're not just going to overcome it. We're straight up going to make it our strength.
I love it.
And so, Obstacle is the Way, favorite book ever. Love rereading that one.
Sold. I cannot wait to add it to my Audible library. So what I know, Ryan, because this has been such a lively and passionate discussion. It's everything I ever want out of these conversations. I know that everybody listening, just like me, has become a fast fan of yours, and they're going to want to know how to keep up with you. So tell us how folks can connect with you, Ryan.
Sure. So clearly you can go to applicantpro.com. You can go sign up. We put out video content every week, and most of it is thought leadership content around this, how to make your organization hire better. You can reach me via email. You send me an email to Ryan Kohler at applicantpro.com. Easiest way to reach me. That's usually where I'm at. I'm either doing that or putting videos out. And so either of those methods, clearly I'm on LinkedIn because I'm in the HR space. You got to be on LinkedIn, right?
Yep, you got to. Well, thank you so much, man. Like I'm serious. We got to have you on again so we can have some more passionate debate, conversation, and insight on the many subjects involved in what you do. Thank you so much.
Yep, thanks for having me.
We totally get it. We publish a ton of content on this podcast, and it can be a lot to keep up with. That's why we've started the B2B Growth Big Three, a no-fluff email that boils down our 3 biggest takeaways from an entire week of episodes. Sign up today at sweetfishmedia.com/big3. That's sweetfishmedia.com/big3.